there is no excuse to continue supporting J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter.
I actually prefer J.K. Rowling's recent work. It just goes so hard. Jamie doesn't realize how cool he's making J.K. Rowling look.
Transphobia is so ridiculously dumb.
Like, we've moved from wanting to be stealth and pass and blend into society to, well, I identify as this, so this is my right that I have to be able to access that space. Oh, she looks really stupid here. Meanwhile, you've got this pissy little face.
This has been compared to a post made by Andrew Tate. She also tweeted that
he just shows that without like comment. Andrew Tate makes videos, so does jammidodger. Have you ever thought jammidodger is kind of an awful lot like Andrew Tate? Do they truly get to lecture others about feminism when they're such a feminist that they rejected their own sex entirely?
What a wholly inappropriate and very weird comparison to make. VE Day is 8th of May and marks the end of Europe.
Wait, how's he going to say this and have nothing to say about all the Auschwitz comparisons? About all the comparisons between trans people now and Jews in the Holocaust?
Sorry, that's just anti-trans.
J.K. Rowling, transphobia in the Supreme Court. jammidodger, well over 1 million subscribers. Like, most of his views are in the past, but he still gets decent pull. It's all pretty old. It's all pretty old stuff. And I mean, I imagine this is probably, yeah, this is one of his bigger draws. We get some exposed by a transphobe. A lot of the time it's like 53, like 5-figure views. Is that great for a 1.15 million subscriber channel? I don't know about that. Anyone that doesn't know this person, this is a trans man. So this person is actually female, took testosterone. Again, you know, like I said, trans men are more likely to pass. And this person does pass, I would say.
Hey Spuds, it's Jamie. Welcome back to another video. If I've been on the channel, I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here. And today we are having a little dive into a subreddit I found called Enough JK Rowling. The about just says trigger warning, transphobia.
Wait, is this about the Supreme Court or not? I don't want to read Reddit today. Ugh, let's see.
We've all had enough, right? This is getting ridiculous. I'm taking it away from JK Rowling and just looking at anybody saying this about a marginalized community and saying this much stuff at this level of frequency.
I think on that particular issue, it's become like a foregone conclusion. Like she's heard so much of a particular kind of person telling her to like commit suicide or telling her to go get raped or some shit that there's probably like a zero tolerance at this point, if you know what I mean. And yeah, she probably has to stop giving a fuck.
Is getting pretty ridiculous. So I wanted to have a look at some of these things that are really getting called out and just should not be said if you have any respect for other people. It's very bizarre behavior.
Yeah, we like shaming people for saying things on this channel. Me personally, I hate language policing. I don't know. I have much more of a problem with people lying than people like just being mean, you know what I mean?
Hello, future Jamie here, just popping in because an important thing happened since I filmed this that I really think needs to be included in this video. So I filmed the rest of this video before the UK Supreme Court ruling happened, where it basically said that the definition of a woman is based off of biological sex. So this would seem to exclude trans women from legally being defined as women, but...
Well, yeah, because trans women are male by sex, which, you know, kudos for at least admitting that much.
Include trans men as being legally defined as women. It did an attack on trans rights and the trans community that's been thinly veiled.
Well, no, it's not an attack on anyone. It's a clarification to the Equality Act. Literally, if you watch the ruling, you listen to Lord Hodge, what he's saying. It's not meant as a victory for either side. It's, you know, trans people still have their rights. Trans people still have their own section under gender reassignment. You still have your rights. But in certain instances, it's important that sex means biological sex. There are actual reasons for this, if you actually think about it. But these people are so convinced of their worldview. And to be completely fair to this person, you know, you're likely to get a bit arrogant and full of yourself. You've got over 1 million subscribers and believe your own shit, you know what I mean? I can imagine that. It's become so hateful and bitter. I'm pretty sure it didn't used to be like this. I should probably watch some like really old content by this person. I've watched stuff from several years ago, and it was the same kind of thing. So I don't know when that kind of attitude started setting in. But I mean, I don't even know. Someone like this, the amount of confirmation bias they must have at this point, trying to crack through that must seem impossible. It's like climbing a mountain, you know? I don't know how anyone would begin to get through to this person. They're so ideologically convinced. And they've got so many people on hand at any given time to confirm everything he said, give him money. So it's almost understandable in a sad kind of way, but it becomes your audience affirm you, so you're affirming your audience, who are then affirming you, who are affirming them, and it's like, all you're saying is nuts, and you need to understand that. But how do you break that cycle? How do you get through to someone like this, or any of their supporters?
Failed as an attempt at protecting cis women's rights, and being done in the name of feminism.
Okay, does this guy understand things like, literally, this is one of the prime examples actually of people that do this. Lots of people don't understand that certain like crime stats, like sexual assault, for example, you have to deal with like, say, sexual assault stats as being males versus females. And trans women follow the male pattern because they are male. Hang on, where is it? The reason that they can obfuscate this is because there's not very many trans women. The average male is not in fact a sex offender. Most men don't commit sex offenses. So what happens is, because there's not very many of them, they're able to pretend that they've never heard of any trans woman doing anything bad ever. And it doesn't work. Like, we've got Ministry of Justice, like, stats, where trans women are overrepresented when it comes to sex offenders. 58.9%. And like, you see how small the number is. 129 trans women are incarcerated at the time of this, 2019. 78,781 men. That's a small percentage because trans women are such a small percentage of males. So of course this isn't going to happen very often, but it happens, it seems. Well, I mean, if you're to look at this, you'd think that many more, per capita trans women are sex offenders than men. And I'm not prepared to go that far. I would rather say that it kind of seems like there's a male rate and a female rate, where we're seeing that, well, I mean, there's more on here. There's more trans women incarcerated in general than women incarcerated for sexual offenses. The problem is, what these people do is they have cis men, and then they have trans women, trans men, and women in the women kind of category. You know what I mean? So they'll cope and say that, well, trans women don't commit rapes the way that men do. But the evidence out there is suggesting they do. If you actually look into it, there's an awful lot of, of examples of these people doing horrible things. But because we're a small amount of the population, it's easy to obfuscate. So these people pretend that cis men are the only ones that follow this rate of criminality, but it's not true. They've been lying to people for a long time about this, and it's not okay. Like I said, this person seems very concerned about people saying mean things. What I'm bothered about is lies.
It's not only harmful to the trans community, and honestly just a really, really shitty thing to happen, but will also be harmful to cis women who do not adhere to the tough, subjective vibe of what a woman looks like. If a cis woman is a bit masculine, she's going to get harassed.
She's not going to get harassed. People are generally like pretty used to seeing butch lesbians around these days. Women with short hair and wearing male clothes are pretty normalized. It does happen once in a while, but you got to think, if you see someone who's gender non-conforming in a female-only space, you might get confused. You might think they're in the wrong place and then get corrected and accept that. That's the most likely scenario. And this has always happened because, of course, it's always happened. Someone doesn't look like their sex, they might get accosted occasionally. Unfortunately, that's just kind of normal.
And approached in a bathroom or a woman's space. It's already happening. It's not.
Yeah, so how is this going to necessarily increase that happening? You could say that they're a bit more emboldened now. Jamie did seem reasonable early on. Seems odd now that he is against his wife having protected rights. Well, his wife is just as indoctrinated as he is. Like, the last thing I watched by this person was him and his wife. And what they do is they blame cis men for everything. It's kind of like what Alexis Blake was doing in that video we watched. Oh, well, it's cis men. Well, unfortunately, you can do that because trans women are a small amount of the population. Male retain male offending patterns after transition. Yes, exactly. And these people won't accept this. And truthfully, there's not a huge amount of evidence out there because there's not many trans sex offenders, because There's not many trans people. So it's easy to bullshit people on. But it is bullshit, and people need to understand this. There are reasons why this whole thing is necessary in some ways. That women have certain needs for protection against males, not men, males.
Feminism at all, it's bigotry. Now, I wanted to add the extra bit.
Okay, he just says it's bigotry. Like, this is the thing. When you get this big, you can get this lazy and just write things off as bigotry. And people will use the appeal to authority. People will use the, oh, well, don't you know he's got a PhD? Like, I don't care that he's got a PhD. You can convince a group of people that you're smart at something. That doesn't convince me. You need to convince me, and you're not doing so, because it's my opinion.
Bit in here because J.K. Rowling herself has been quite involved in this Supreme Court case and has also been making a fool of herself on social media in the aftermath. First,
has she been making a fool of herself? Again, just because you say it to your impressionable audience, that doesn't mean it's true. Kind of seems like we watched, who was it we watched yesterday? Mooncat, bringing up J.K. Rowling's like Twitter and like way over egging the pudding, trying to act like this person is like spurging out when it's like she sat on a boat with a cigar. Like, I don't know, man. I think she's kind of rinsing you, to be honest.
Firstly, she reportedly donated £70,000 towards the case being taken to the Supreme Court, which is roughly a third of the entire amount
Oh, he has a PhD in psychology, I believe.
Raised by the transphobic group For Women Scotland to progress this case. So it's fair to say that she's probably a very big
they're a women's rights group, but sure.
Part of why this case was able to get as far as it got in the first place. An abortion support organisation actually shared that self-proclaimed feminist J.K. Rowling's £70,000 could have funded the cost of every abortion they've done so far this year. You'd think that
that's meaningless. There is a lot more than £70,000 out there in the world. Why do people only have to give money to what you consider the most pressing cause at any given time? If she were to give £70,000 to an abortion thing, might there not be people out there? Oh, well, there's starving children in Africa. Why aren't you giving them the money? This is a worthless concern.
True feminists would much rather put their worth towards actually helping people rather than taking away the right.
Yeah.
You, Mary.
To add to your point, a wise man once said sometimes higher education will make you say stupid shit.
True. Thank you, Asami Yamazaki, for the $1. Yeah, this person is so concerned with feminism that they literally insist that they're a man when they were born female. God, look at his face. He's like so seething already. Oh, man. Oh, it's genuinely difficult listening to this person. Everything seems like some kind of attempt to get into my head, and I'm like having to actively resist it. But Jamie is a lesbian who's homophobic and transitioned to have a heteronormative relationship. Yeah. You gotta wonder, whenever this person makes comments about feminism, do they truly understand feminism? Do they truly get to lecture others about feminism when they're such a feminist that they rejected their own sex entirely and changed their body so they could pretend that they're a male now? You know what I mean? Yeah. How much money does jammidodger earn a year? How much money is he given to abortion clinics? Oh, thank you, Bosky Squelch, for following. Thank you. We can do that concern troll all fucking day long and just keep adding on. Why are you giving this money to this cause when this cause is more important? Oh, well, why are you giving money to that cause when that cause is more important? It's just not a good point. Like, if J.K. Rowling wants to use a tiny amount of her wealth to help fund a court case that she considers important and that will enshrine like women's rights as being for women, as in like biological women, females, then that's her lookout, man. Like, it's not really on you to tell her whether she's a feminist or not for that. When you've rejected your own sex, you've rejected femaleness, femininity entirely. The fuck do you care about feminism for, quite frankly?
To a marginalised community. After the court case was won by the TERFs, J.K. Rowling posted a photo of herself smoking a cigar and drinking.
So cool. She's actually so fucking cool. Listen. It took me a long time on J.K. Rowling. You're just making her look cooler.
Marginalised community. After the court case was won by the TERFs, J.K. Rowling posted a photo.
This goes so hard. Does this not go so hard?
Photo of herself smoking a.
Does this not go so fucking hard? I'm sorry, man. This goes so fucking hard.
Cigar and drinking on her super yacht with the
it's a bit like, you know how Billy Mitchell won that court case recently, and it's like Billy Mitchell always has a plan. It's like that. It goes so fucking hard, man. Also whines like a girl. He kind of does a bit. Maybe he hasn't rejected his own sex as much as I thought he had.
Caption: I love it when a plan.
He ate them up with that pic. Yeah, fucking hell. She's just won. This the biggest win anyone's ever taken ever. Like, fuck me. Like, she's making this look so fucking based right now. Let's just blame J.K. Rowling for everything. To be fair, it's relevant to bring her up. She gave a lot of money to this court case. But I mean, I don't know, man. Rich fucking left-leaners could be giving money to trans causes, and probably do. We don't complain about that ever.
Comes together. To anyone with an ounce of sense.
To be fair, you probably do get people that complain about that, but not on this side. Have we done jammidodger? We're looking at him right now. Here we go. Jammidodger. It is so easy to blame her, that's true. But she is relevant to this story, so I will accept it, you know what I mean? And J.K. Rowling is the boogeyman. She does literally anything, or anything happens. Someone's there to point at them. Rowling mocked them so hard. Yeah. Completely. There's like, I don't know. I just want to keep skipping back to this. Should we have this on the screen? Nothing else, just for a sec. Just bask in how hard this goes. It just goes so hard. Jamie doesn't realize how cool he's making J.K. Rowling look just by doing this. How is it from the A-Team? I'm not familiar with the A-Team. I think it's a bit before my time. Wasn't it around in like the 80s or something? I can't remember. I know of Mr. T. Hang on, let me just find my chat really quick. There we go. Oh, it just goes so hard. Anyway. Stop making me like J.K. Rowling.
It's knowledge and compassion. She just looks really stupid doing this. Her post.
No, you're coping. I saw this on Mooncat. This is retarded. In what sense, other than J.K. Rowling having a cigar in her mouth, does she resemble Andrew Tate? Andrew Tate, isn't he like a sex trafficker and shit like that? That is so cringe, man. Like, you've lost. I'm sorry. You can't win against someone like this. I've been trying to tell these like TRA fucks this for years. They should have like given up with the J.K. Rowling shit. Just stop going on about her constantly. To me, she was like the next Katie Hopkins when I was like more anti J.K. Rowling myself. She was like the next Katie Hopkins. Katie Hopkins is someone in the UK who used to say all kinds of like crazy shit that would get people all mad. And like the left-wing media would report on every tiny little thing she said. I'd know people I knew. Oh my God, what Katie Hopkins said this time is so disgusting. And it's like, why are you giving this person airtime? That's what they want. They want the attention for the things they're saying. And giving them this much airtime, spurging out this hard against this person, is only helping them. We should have left this shit alone. We should have left J.K. Rowling to it. Like, we've legitimized her so much by flooding her with like death threats for years and years and years. Like, there's sites out there compiling all these different like death and rape threats and all this kind of shit. It's insane. She's won this so hard. This is the face of someone who's winning. And this is the face of someone, well, these are the words of someone who is mouthing fucking hard and has lost. I'm sorry, Sam, he, him. You're a loser.
This has been compared to a post made by Andrew Tate. She also tweeted that
he just shows that without like comment. How is this anything like Andrew Tate? So does anyone that smokes a cigar, are they also like Andrew Tate? What are we trying to say here, Jamie? You just move on. Oh, now she's posting. It just goes harder and harder. You lost. TERF VE Day. This is showboating. And unfortunately, mate, she's earned it. You know why? Because your side has been pillorying this person. Initially for saying that sex is real. For voicing her opinion. That's crazy.
we toasted you at For Women Scott. Neil says it's TERF VE Day. Laughing, smiling emoji. Hashtag Supreme Court. Hashtag women's rights.
It just goes so hard, doesn't it? She's so cool. I never realized how fucking cool J.K. Rowling was. Anyway, I'm sorry.
The women's rights that are now rolling back. VE Day is 8th of May.
Yeah, she doesn't see it that way quite clearly. I don't think anyone sees it that way. There's no rollback of women's rights. Where's the rollback? That don't make any sense, bro. But he says these things and he never explains it. He just moves on. Just makes these blanket statements. Because again, when you're this big, when your audience is this indoctrinated, you can get lazy. You can just spout your ignorant opinions and that's all you have to do. Holy shit, yes, Andrew Tate makes videos, so does jammidodger. Have you ever thought jammidodger is kind of an awful lot like Andrew Tate? Seems to disregard his own sex an awful lot. Andrew Tate very much seems to disregard women. Why do they all want women to lose? Well, listen, I don't think that he's like that, but if he's going to essentialize J.K. Rowling this hard, maybe I should essentialize him this hard. Like, I don't know, man. You kind of invite it when you're this bad faith, which he is, unfortunately. Bad for women's rights, refuses to elaborate. Yeah, oh well, no. To be fair, he said that a butch lesbian might be like 1% more likely to be accosted in a toilet, which is already happening anyway by his own admission. So, I don't know, very clear example of women's rights being rolled back. Oh, it's mad. It's mad. I don't know why this guy is even bothering anymore. Just talk about something else. Just make videos about trans memes for your preschool audience that you are indoctrinating into a weird cult because you're a ideological groomer.
And marks the end of Europe fighting against
Didn't Andrew Tate also groom people?
Nazi Germany during World War II. What a VE Day is 8th of May and marks the end of Europe.
Wait, how's he going to say this and have nothing to say about all the Auschwitz comparisons? About all the comparisons between trans people now and Jews in the Holocaust? Anything to say about that, Jamie? Let's see. Because I know you've seen people make that very complaint. I bet I could probably find... I don't think I want to pour through all these crazy comments. I wouldn't be surprised if there was at least one comparing the trans situation now to the Holocaust. But you're going to complain about this? Well, let's see. Maybe he will. Who knows? I doubt it, though.
Europe fighting against Nazi Germany during World War II. What a wholly inappropriate and very weird comparison to make. TERFs are fighting a battle.
Oh no, he's not going to ever criticize his own side for doing the exact same thing. In fact, far worse. Because they're claiming that we're having the same thing done to us that the Jews were done in the Holocaust. The Jews were gassed in their millions. We're being told that we're not women. It's not really the same. But these people never criticize their own side.
That they've made up in their head that has no place in actual reality, yet they think it's...
Mate, you think you're a man.
...some win comparable to a win during World War II. Unfortunately, they seem to have so...
He thinks he's a man and then acts this way. Like this kind of passive-aggressive, condescending tone. This is very female-coded. You're not very masculine for a supposed man. Like, well done on taking testosterone and growing a beard. Any woman could do that if they wanted to. They just don't want to fuck their health up.
So much money and resource to put behind this. That's the reason why they do actually make some
Apparently he has like a stoop now because of bone problems, but I don't know how true that is.
Progress with things. Personally, I feel like one tweet that sums all of this up quite nicely is the following. J.K. Rowling always says, don't let men define what a woman is, because she actually believes that it takes 3 men.
Mate, it's her... Oh, first off, Eli Ehrlich is literally a fucking child catcher. What was it Eli Ehrlich was doing? It was something to do with giving children like hormones. That was Brianna Wu saying that. Listen, I would rather side with Brianna Wu than Eli Ehrlich, fucking hell. I don't like Brianna Wu, but she's right sometimes. Illegally sending hormones. I don't know how much this is true. She sued Blair White over something like this, but I think I looked at the Blair White thing and it seemed like what she said was fine from what I remember. That's their job, man. People are put in place to make these kinds of decisions, often on behalf of groups of people. Like, I don't know if Jamie's going to get into the fairness thing. What they say is like, oh, well, no trans people were consulted. Well, first off, it's about the definition of women. It's a women's issue first and foremost. The trans people are just a group that are affected by it. Second off, I'm pretty sure it's not legal precedent that any time a decision is made that affects any kind of group, that group must have a representative. You know what I mean? Excuse me, those Supreme Court judges identify as women. Yeah. How does Eli Ehrlich know that one of these isn't actually trans?
Men to define what a woman is. 3.
Yeah, because that's their job. Because they're paid to do that. Because they were hired for that position. And by the way, weren't there 5? Weren't there 5 judges? Because it kind of seems like there's at least one female one. But we're only talking about 3? So were the other 2 women? I don't know. Accused rapist. Listen, I don't know about that. But Eli Ehrlich is an extremely suspicious individual.
3 old cis white men. In short, it's so ridiculous because they're
self-hating white man. Well done. Well done. Very original, Jamie. You hate your race. You hate your own sex too. Which is bizarre because you then tell women what feminism is.
There is evidence that trans women do not pose a threat to cis women in women's space.
No evidence was identified to support the claim. But if we're talking about the definition of woman, it wasn't really what was coming up. More likely than cisgender women. Well, no, there is evidence of this. Like, in women-only spaces, there's a crazy stipulation. Like, when you look at the Ministry of Justice thing that we looked at earlier, the figures that they had, trans women were far more likely than women to commit sexual assaults. I'm pretty sure, since we've decided that trans women are women, I'm pretty sure the amount of women committing sexual assaults has like skyrocketed in terms of like statistically. Like, why is it that we hear so many more times about trans women committing sexual assault than women? Like, if it wasn't happening so much, we wouldn't be hearing about it. The only way they get away with this is because there's not very many trans people in general. And the average male, because trans women are male, males have a different pattern of criminality when it comes to sexual assault than females. Because of course they do. The trans women follow the male pattern of criminality. It's just how it is.
Spaces, and there is also evidence that cis men are not pretending to be trans women to gain.
We have evidence. I have evidence. I'll show you it. I've got this from a Daily Signal article. We can look up any of these names: Richard Rendler, Gregorio Hernandez, Jason Pomare, Christopher Hambrook. There were instances in Virginia and Seattle or Washington. UC Berkeley police told the Oakland Tribune that officers on Thursday arrested Gregorio Hernandez on suspicion of disorderly conduct. Man wearing dark sunglasses with a towel over his head made his way to the locker room at a recreational sports facility. Then on night, October 6th, a man with a towel around his upper body and wearing a wig was seen in the women's locker room. Seattle Parks and Recreation facing a first-of-a-kind challenge to gender-neutral bathrooms. Last week, a man undressed in women's locker room, citing a new state rule that allows people to choose a bathroom based on gender identity. Man wearing board shorts entered the women's locker room, took off his shirt. Woman alerted staff, who told the man to leave but said, "The law has changed and I have a right to be here." Predator who claimed to be transgender declared dangerous offender. A sexual predator who falsely claimed to be transgender preyed on 2 women at 2 Toronto shelters, was jailed indefinitely on Wednesday. Justice John McMahon declared Christopher Hambrook, who claimed to be a transgender woman named Jessica, was a dangerous offender. Idaho Falls. A transgender woman accused of videotaping an 18-year-old in a Target fitting room admitted to detectives she had made videos in the past of women undressing, according to court documents obtained by East Idaho News. Shauna Smith, a transgender woman, is being charged as Sean Smith with one felony count of video voyeurism after the alleged incident Monday. Jessica Yaniv. Katie Dolotowski. You had, if we were talking about female spaces, Karen White, who assaulted women in prison. Demi Minor, who impregnated 2 women in a women's jail or prison. San Jose sex offender wearing fake breast wig arrested for loitering in the women's restroom. Richard Rendler, 60, of San Jose, a registered sex offender, found that out. It is a crime that you're wearing a wig and fake breasts and hanging out in a women's bathroom. Found that out on Friday in Campbell when he was arrested at the Prune Yard Shopping Centre on misdemeanor loitering charges. Campbell Police Sergeant Dave Carmichael said Rendler was arrested for having been caught in the women's restroom of an unnamed store for several minutes. We Spa Guy, yep, another one. There's loads of them out there. McMahon, okay, fair enough. Redux has learned that a registered sex offender was among a small group of trans activists who recently protested outside a San Francisco spa, demanded access to clothing-optional, female-only events. Dwight Austin, who began calling himself Dakota Rose Austin in 2022, was interviewed sympathetically by the media as a victim of the spa's discriminatory policies. A group of trans activists gathered the entrance of a Russian-style bathhouse on the shores of San Francisco Bay to protest their sex-segregated events. Like, why do these people want access to these places? Oh, I had confirmation bias. Thank you so much. A woman and her young daughter were using a bathroom in a Virginia mall this weekend when a mother saw a mirror under the stall divider, the second recent peeping incident involving a man dressed as a woman. 35-year-old woman was in a restroom stall with her 5-year-old daughter at the Potomac Mills Mall around 3:10 p.m. Sunday when she saw the mirror and a camera flash. She rushed out the stall to confront the peeper and saw who police called a man dressed in women's clothing exit the neighbouring stall. Male sex offenders faking trans identities to move to women's prisons. Jailed male sex offenders are faking transgender identities in an effort to move to women-only prisons. Why are they doing so? Who fucking knows? Probably because they've got a chance of sexually assaulting more people. I don't know. What was that person called? Karen White. Karen White sexually assaulted 2 inmates in a women's jail and previously raped 2 other women, has been given a life sentence. Attacked 2 women in 2017 whilst on remand at HMP New Hall in Wakefield for other offences. Trans woman who was housed with other women. Transgender paedophile was allowed to serve time in a women's prison. Praised Nicola Sturgeon as a great First Minister. It's messing me around. This person got arrested. This Katie Dolotowski. They got arrested for sexually assaulting a young girl in a supermarket toilet. Crazy. Anyway, is that enough examples? Is that enough evidence?
Gain access to women's spaces. They are genuinely fighting an entirely made-up fight and
Okay, we've shown otherwise. You're just lying. You're just lying to people. And of course you can get away with it. Because you always get away with it when you're on the pro-trans side. And you certainly always get away with it when you have this much power, when you have this much of a captive audience that will support literally everything you say, because everything you're saying is affirming them, and then they're affirming you, and then it becomes a whole fucking thing.
taking the rights away from a marginalized group in the process. And then also
Yep, emotional drivel. Not interested.
impacting the rights of the group that they claim to be protecting, cis women. So what TERFs are actually
Yeah,
celebrating?
you haven't shown that, bro. Your entire argument for cis women being affected is butch lesbians in the toilet, who have probably always been accosted. By your own admission, they have. And that's kind of understandable when you consider a lot of them look kind of like dudes. He could have shown data, but no, what a disappointment. Yeah, that's what he does. He doesn't need to, because his audience will hang on every word he says. Because he's got a PhD and he's trans and he's got over 1 million subscribers. Not Jamie's fault. Men don't believe that men assault women. I mean, it happens either way.
Celebrating right now, and the reason why they look really stupid is they are celebrating something that is bad for cis women and bad for all trans people.
Then show it. Then show it. I haven't noticed anything bad yet. I've been fine.
By forcing trans women out of women's spaces, you are forcing trans men into them. And if TERFs are so concerned about predatory cis men pretending to be trans women to gain access to women's spaces, surely what they've done now...
How do you tell a predatory cis man pretending to be a trans woman from a trans woman? How would you make the distinction between those two things? Assuming that both of them have dressed up to look like women, how would you know? The only way that these people, I presume, can answer that is identity. You can't show identity. Who's being honest about their identity and who isn't? You can't tell. Like some people, like more transmed kind of people, will say, oh, well, they will make an effort and they'll try and pass if they're real. You know what I mean? But like, you can't use that either, because that's transmed. That's like enforcing cis heteronormative standards or whatever. I'd like to see Jamie Cage fight Fallon Fox. Fucking hell. Listen, I don't know that I'd like watching someone get that terribly destroyed by another person. Redux is full of examples. I can't even look at that site anymore. It's so distressing. Yeah, I can imagine, yeah. And then these people will write those sources off as like TERF or whatever, but what they're talking about is real. These things happen. Maybe you can tell by looks or psych evaluation. I don't think you can. Like, if you're going to say that you can tell by looks, then you're suggesting that non-passing trans women might not take their transition seriously. And these people would argue that that's transphobic. Or like enforcing like cis-normative appearance, beauty ideals or whatever. Jamie is transitioning well since he is dismissing women's consent. Yeah, true. Holy shit. Hi, Simon. I hope you're good. He looks stupid justifying this crap. Yeah, that's true. He's just mouthing. He's just coping. This is just the biggest cope I've ever seen in my life. You show the picture of J.K. Rowling looking cool as fuck. And like, oh, she looks really stupid here. Meanwhile, you've got this pissy little face. With this stupid little voice coming out. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. You haven't lost this much self-awareness. Does it look like he's aged 5 years? Oh, I don't know. I mean, listen, testosterone tends to have that kind of effect. I think he's a bit younger than I am. I can't remember. I think he's like early 30s.
Definitely what they've done now is made it easier for those predatory cis men to gain access to women's spaces by simply stating they're trans men. They don't need to do anything.
Again, that is always something that someone could have said. But the thing is, the women are likely not to believe them and report them and complain. And like, if you go in and say, oh, I'm a trans man, and then you get reported for it, how are you going to prove that you're a trans man when you're clearly not? It's not going to work. Like, they've always been able to do that. And the trans man thing doesn't matter because men don't care about trans men in their spaces. Did you stop using male spaces? Have you ever had a problem in a male space? I'm going to go ahead and assume that you haven't.
If I don't tell people I'm trans, they assume I'm a cis man. It's way more likely.
Yes, because trans men can generally get away with that. Trans women can't.
That a predatory cis man will pretend to be a trans man than a trans.
No, that's not going to happen. Because the women are just going to have a problem with trans men being in there just as much as they will with cis men. And it's not a problem anyway because trans men can use the men. Absolutely terrible argument. This is the thing. Just because the sub counts go up, just because this dipshit has a PhD, that doesn't improve the arguments. It's the same dumbass argument that we're hearing from the bottom of the ladder to the top. It is very much tails all the way down with these people.
Woman, especially given that there is no evidence that they're pretending to be trans women in the first place. And it's already happening that cis women who do not conform to a stereotypical set of feminine ideals are being harassed and kicked out of women's spaces because
Yeah, harassed and kicked out. There's been the odd example. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen because I'm not this person. I'm not a liar. But like, for the most part, I think, yeah, butch lesbians have probably always been accosted occasionally in bathrooms. And in general, they'll probably say, oh, hey, actually, I'm a woman. You hear the voice. You start noticing a bit more about their appearance because there's probably a snap thing where you see someone that looks a bit masculine. And then you're like, oh, sorry. That seems to be probably mostly what's happening. I think there are certainly examples of where it's gone too far. For me personally, I think we should be normalizing like gender nonconformity anyway. And understanding that biological sex is real. You know what I mean? Yeah, you'd think with that PhD it would come up with a better argument. Well, where do you think the arguments come from? Idiots like this set the tone. So a lot of people are just copying people like this, honestly. Who is harassing women and kicking them out, but not trans women? I've seen the odd example. It has happened. There's definitely been examples of it going too far. But that's why the answer should be to normalize gender nonconformity and not, oh, well, you're gender nonconforming, therefore you're probably the opposite sex, which is regressive. Women's bathrooms have never ever been like that. You just never ask women their experience. Like, what I'm saying is, like, I've seen the odd example, so I know that it has happened. But in general, well, I don't know. I think we'd hear a lot more of it if it was that much of a problem. And I think what probably goes down most of the time is if it does happen, it's just a quick misunderstanding that's easily sorted. And truthfully, women looking more masculine has been more and more and more and more normalized in recent times. And the other thing is, well, women are kind of hypervigilant at the moment because they're liable to get like male people show up that they might not be comfortable being in the same space as, you know what I mean? Like we've moved from wanting to be stealth and pass and blend into society to, well, I identify as this, so it's my right that I have to be able to access that space. And of course that's going to make women more hypervigilant. But people never consider that. People never consider how the change in like attitudes and the change in how we talk about trans has had an impact on this. It might be true now that men don't care about trans men in their spaces, but male Karen are always a risk. What happens if the trans men have to use the women's? Trans men are just so much more likely to pass. And men don't really like acknowledge each other in the toilet very much. Like the culture in men's toilets in general is to not talk to each other, not look at each other, especially not on the urinals. Definitely don't look down at someone else's cock. Ideally, don't use the urinal next to anyone if you can. I think we'd be hearing about it so much more if it was actually a problem. I don't think we're going to be seeing this like male Karen thing. I'm willing to be proven wrong, sure. But in general, I just don't see how trans men are having these problems. They don't have to use the women's now. They can still use the men's. Like, isn't the specific thing about like someone put something in my Discord as well. I wish I could find it. I think it was Mischief, if you still have it. There's still like exceptions and stuff. They always say passing is important, but they still push for surgery and for the age limit to be lower. Yep, that's true. It doesn't make sense. But I think they say passing isn't important to save the feelings of people who are transitioning when they are never going to look like the sex that they are aiming for.
Transphobes think they are trans women. This is what the TERFs have achieved. This is what people...
When he uses transphobes and TERFs and words like that, it's just nebulous boogeyman. He probably couldn't really define accurately a group of people that either of those things fit. He'd probably consider me a transphobe. I'm literally trans. I just have different opinions to him.
Like J.K. Rowling are celebrating, whether they know it or not. Transphobia is so ridiculously dumb. There is no excuse.
Transphobia is so ridiculously dumb. There we go.
To continue supporting J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. Keep the stuff you already have. Enjoy it privately. Whatever.
Oh, now we're pushing boycott shit. It doesn't work, mate. Do you not remember the Hogwarts Legacy boycott? More people ended up buying it because they were sick of, like, activists scolding them for just wanting to enjoy a video game. People are tired of being told what they can and can't say, what they can and can't enjoy, what they can and can't consume. All you're doing is making it worse by doing this. Just admit defeat. It's over. It's Jova.
But to put money in her pocket to buy into the new things coming out for Harry Potter.
None of this matters. She could never earn another pound or penny in her life and still have loads of money left over to do what she wants with. This is worthless. This is a waste of time.
And to buy into Harry Potter as a franchise literally puts money towards causes that takes trans people's rights away, as is proved by the £70,000 donation.
She'd be doing that either way. Like, you're not rich enough to understand how insanely rich someone like J.K. Rowling is. That's fair enough. But then, why push this bullshit that we already know doesn't work? Doesn't matter. The Hogwarts Legacy thing was a complete wash. Didn't work. 10 years ago, this nerd and his friends would have been asking you which Hogwarts house you're in. Yeah, probably. I'm like one of those rare people, because I really didn't get into Harry Potter. I read one of the books. I watched 2 of the films. I just didn't really get it. I actually prefer J.K. Rowling's recent work.
To end this little cutaway with some of the positives that have come out from this, because when this first happened, I felt very upset. I felt very angry. I felt very frustrated.
Yes, emotional snap reaction. You've got a PhD in psychology. You'd understand that you might not be thinking clearly about this because your emotions are getting in the way. But you can't do that because you're not actually very good at psychology. You're not very... your confirmation bias has exceeded your ability to critically think. Fair enough. Listen, it's not your fault, Jamie. And you're wildly successful anyway and have more money than I will ever dream of. So, hey, listen. Enjoy your sycophantic, ridiculous audience.
I didn't know what I could do. I'm recording this 4 or 5 days after the ruling has happened, and I have to say my head is in a completely different space. I'm still frustrated. I'm still a bit scared. However, there has been an overwhelming...
Scared of what? You look like a man. You more or less sound like a man. This isn't going to affect you one iota. Stop pretending you're one with us little people. You patronizing fuck.
Huge amount of love come out for the trans community in the aftermath of this. It's showing that this transphobia is not the majority view, and it's not a majority view.
Yeah, in one of his comment section, I don't know if it's this video or something else, J.K. Rowling should delete her save file. Yup, please exit through the self-checkout, ma'am. Hey, no, look, she sucks and it's not okay, but you can't say that. Not only can we say that, we did. You may argue we shouldn't, though. What does it mean, delete your save file? That's kind of ominous, no? What else do we have? Bear in mind, these are jammidodger's fans here. We'll live to see her obituary and then party. Ding dong, the witch is dead. I've seen her called She Who Must Not Be Named. Lol. Yeah, your fans are nuts, mate.
Logic or facts that won a Supreme Court case right now. It was money, power, lies, ignorance, and bigotry.
Cope more. Cope even harder, somehow. Please. I don't think it's possible. I don't think there is a person more full of copium. Are you sure your vials of testosterone had testosterone in them? I'm kind of wondering if it were actually full of copium.
Aftermath has seen influential figures like Bridgerton's Nicola Coughlan raise tens of thousands. I think it's actually over £100,000 right now as I'm making this video for a trans-led organisation, Not a Face. And from what I can...
Ooh, which one? Not a Phase. Trans-led nationwide charity. Improving the lives of trans plus adults through awareness awareness. Visibility has been a massive double-edged sword for us. And I don't think that just having more awareness is what we need, but sure, bro. Oh, that fucking Fox Fisher guy. I can't remember what he kicked off about. He's in the picture here. I can't remember what he kicked off about. It's something really stupid. Good luck to them. I don't think anything's going to come of that.
Actually over £100,000 right now as I'm making this video for a trans-led organisation, not a vase. And from what I can find, there were nearly 30 protests happening all throughout the UK.
Yep, Worthless is only going to pique more people. One of these featured Sarah Jane, torturer, almost murderer Baker, trans rights to human rights.
In support of trans rights, with London having tens of thousands of people showing up and multiple others having thousands of people showing up. There's been ones in Glasgow, Bristol, Brighton, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, Cardiff, Nottingham, and many, many more. Compare this to maybe a dozen TERFs who were at the Supreme Court ruling going,
yeah, because they won. They don't need to be out here. They don't need to be doing anything.
with their glasses of wine, celebrating the fact that they have just scored an own goal.
He has lost so hard. He is mouthing. He is coping and seething. It's hilarious. Stop making these people look cool, Jamie. That's all you're doing. This just goes hard. You're just making this go hard for me now.
And there were some reports that counter-protesters did show up to at least one of the trans-supportive protests, but only in very, very tiny numbers, and they quickly left. Anyway, it was really important for me to include this in.
Yeah, because what's the point? Why bother? We got what we wanted. Easy, easy. Let's all smoke cigars and chill.
Here, thank you for listening. And now we'll switch back to Past Jamie for the rest of the video.
Okay, he's going to be talking about Reddit. I don't care about Reddit. He makes videos for 14-year-olds, convincing them that they're trans, putting ideas in their heads, grooming them into an ideology that is not going to make them happy. I actually think this person's disgusting, and this was a really dumb video, and all he's managed to do is make that picture of J.K. Rowling go even harder. She's even cooler to me now. They think they're biological women and women aren't, and protesting will fix it. I think protesting is going to do fuck all, and they just keep saying the same slogans over and over and over again. It's not working. It hasn't been working for a long fucking time. There we go, jammidodger.